Hello. I'm live. We've worked it out. I am going to, if you give me just a moment, I'm going to post a link to this in the other one because there are people waiting there. And for some reason, it just won't let me, um, it won't let me go live for some reason in that other one. So I'm going to just post in the chat, meet. I had to do another one, meet me here. Okay. All right. So I'm live. No one's here yet. Not. Oh wait, people are here. Hey, how are you? Apologies for the mix-up. I scheduled this on my phone, and for some reason it didn't transfer over the way it was supposed to. I didn't close my office door. Y'all all in my house. It's all good. All right. What's up, y'all? It's Tuesday. My name is Libria Jones. I am the remote work queen, and I'm here to answer your questions about working. Excuse me, about working remotely. How you can land remote work, how you can find and land remote work, questions about the process. Hi, Steph. Questions that you might have about the process, and maybe questions that you have about me. Hi. I'm a pretty much an open book. I'm decently transparent person. So ask me anything. If it's something I don't feel comfortable answering, I'll just tell you and we'll move on. Not a huge deal. There's not many questions that I've been asked that I'm like, nah. My friend this morning told me I'm like one of the most transparent people she's ever met. So ask me anything. All right. I'm going to start with the questions that were asked on the Instagram post. So I'm pulling up my Instagram post so that I can get to the questions that people asked me there. I'm going to start there first. And guys, I'm going to be here for 30 minutes because I'm going to a housewarming party and I'm in the middle of cooking. It's like a potluck. So I'm in the middle of cooking some it's weird. Butternut squash wonton. I made butternut squash ravioli last night. Tonight I'm gonna bake it and make it more like a crunchy thing and put some sage garlic butter on it. It's gonna be delicious. I don't know if you care about that, but that's what I'm doing tonight. In the meantime, I'm gonna answer these questions. Hi Lynn, hi Julia, hi Yannick, hi SKM. All right, let me answer some questions. All right, so typically I answer the questions first that have been posted on my Instagram. And so hopefully we can get through these in 30 minutes if I stop talking and just answer them. And then I can answer any questions that you guys have for me here. Before we get to that, I do want to remind you guys that I have a free guide. My favorite places to find remote work. It's completely free. You just download it. It will cost you your email address. Obviously, I want your email address so I can try to sell you something later because that's the name of the game. But the guide is actually free and it's very helpful. I share a lot of free resources on Instagram too. If you just know me from YouTube, you should follow me on Instagram. I share a whole lot of free information there all the time, daily, basically. And then I have a course. It's a very short course. I call it a mini course. You can get through it in a weekend. And I've gotten great feedback about it. It's only $47 and it guides you through the 4 phases of finding and landing remote work. It guides you through trying to figure out where the jobs are, how to apply for the jobs, how to nail the interview, and then how to negotiate your offer. So I'll put a link to that in the description, but you can find all this on my website, libriajones.com as well. All right, let's get to these questions, shall we? Question one, and there's some really good questions here. A couple of them I don't know how to answer. Are companies allowing people to work remote with satellite internet connections? So I meant to look this up, but I was working. I have a day job too, guys. I don't know if you know that, but I was working. So I didn't get the chance to look this up. I don't know what a satellite internet connection is. I have no idea what that means. So I don't know the answer to that question. I will tell you that I've not seen any job postings, at least, with specific internet requirements. And so I wonder if you live out of the country. So really your question is probably more around, will they let me work out of the country? I'm not sure if you're in the US or out. So the username is Alaska Wild Inspiration. So I assume you're in Alaska. I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to your question because I have no idea what satellite internet is. My assumption is as long as you can get on the internet and as long as it's secure, they should be fine. And it probably depends on who you're working for. Some companies care a lot more than others about their level of security, right? Hillary Nathan asked, I love this question. I hate the dreadful question of what would you say is your weakness? Should we relate the answer to the job announcement? I once answered being able to answer that question. After everyone laughed and released some tension, they immediately followed up with no, but really, what would you say is your weakness? I know everybody hates that question. What's your weakness? What is your weakness? What is something that what would you call, what would you clarify as your biggest challenge or something like that? Um, Everybody hates that question. Drop a comment if you hate that question. One of the things that I love about what Hillary said here is that she kind of lightened the mood, and her answer was being able to answer this question, and everybody laughed. I want to I want to highlight that, right? Because one of the good things about interviewing, if you're interviewing well, accept that everyone in the room is a person, and everyone in the room has been in the same seat that you're in. All right, so you're nervous, they were nervous too, and saying something like that actually kind of eases that nervousness, and it shows a bit of your personality, and it brings everybody kind of on the same level at the same time, right? So if somebody says, so can you tell me what is your greatest weakness, and your response is answering the question about what my greatest weakness is, and everybody starts laughing, you've changed the mood a little bit, right? So I love that she did that. I've never done that. I've never thought to do that. I think that's a really great, way to kind of lighten the mood, show your personality, and kind of put everybody in the same space, if that makes sense, right? Um, some of the things that are important about interviews are not just your answers, but it's also about being likable. People want to hire people they like, and doing something funny like answering this question as your greatest weakness and making everybody laugh makes you likable and makes you relatable. And actually, it can ease some of the tension on yourself. Okay. So I'll tell you how I've answered that question in the past. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a formula. Okay. So the way that I answer that question in the past, you can take a couple of routes. You can always give a pageant answer, right? Some people like to say things like, it's tough for me to say no to taking on work, to taking on projects, right? It's tough for me to say no. I tend to, want to be a team player, and I tend to want to, have my hands in everything. Some people love to say that because it's a pageant answer, right? Here's what I'll say. One, don't say anything that could get you fired before you even get the job, right? So don't say things like, I have trouble getting to work on time. I have trouble not stealing office supplies, right? Say something that, makes sense. But here's the key. No matter what you say, as long as this doesn't get you fired, make sure you follow that up with, here's what I've been doing to work on that, right? So if I'm honest, let me think of one of the things that I've said. Ooh, I'm trying to remember what I've said in those instances. Oh, what have I said? Ugh, I can't. I wish I could remember an example of something that I said. But if you guys can give me an example, what's one of your weaknesses? Drop one of your weaknesses in the comments, and we'll see how we can work that. Okay, we'll see how we can work that. Certain things you want to kind of stay away from, though, I'll say, are things that are really viewed as bad, especially based on the role, right? So if you're going into a role that's in finance, saying that you have trouble paying attention to detail, you just might as well get up and leave. Like, this just not going to work out for you. It's just not going to work out for you. Saying that you have problems, you tend to get into office drama. Like, this is not the time to air your dirty laundry, right? I'd say that here's a time to kind of, delegating is a struggle for me. Okay. So if you were to say delegating is a struggle for me, one of the ways that you can frame that is you can say, I tend to really like to take ownership of the work that I have, right? I tend to like to take ownership of the projects that I'm on and the work that I have. And one of the things that I'm working to do is kind of spread the love a little bit and learn to delegate a lot more. And what I found is that actually helps free me up to do a lot of other things and develop my skills more, and also help develop other people, right? So don't just say this is a problem, say what you're doing to work on it and the results that you've seen as a result of, because of that, right? So don't just say my biggest weakness is, that want to take full ownership of the things that I work on, or that I have trouble asking for help, or whatever the case may be. Don't just say that. Follow that up with, and here's what I'm doing to work on it. Here's what I've been doing to work on it. And here are the results I've seen. Okay. Here's the benefit that I've seen from it. Because the truth is, we all have things that we're working on. And when people ask you that question, I'm going to tell you what they're looking for. They are looking to find out if you are self aware. They are really looking to just see, are you a self-aware person? Are you going to be honest about some of your weaknesses, your challenges, and some of the pain points, or the things that you need to work on? And what I recommend that you do is don't leave it at the weakness, right? Identify that as a human, as a person, as an employee. I have challenges. Sometimes I have challenges prioritizing work. I have something that I would prefer to work on, so I'm going to work on that first. One of the ways that I've been able to address that is getting really clear with my managers and my team about what should be priority one. Whenever we discuss projects and deadlines, I identify what should be priority one and make sure that I'm in alignment with my managers and with my teams, and I reprioritize based on that, right? So that's another way to do that, right? So don't just say prioritizing is a challenge for me. Say prioritizing has been a challenge in the past. It's something that I'm continuously working on. Here's what I'm doing to work on it. And what I've found is that, and what I have found as a result is that I've become a lot better at prioritizing. So it's a challenge in that it's something I have to continuously work on. It's not something that comes naturally to me, because all of us have things that just don't come naturally to us, right? All of us have things that are not, it's just not innate. We are not perfect people. So don't be afraid to call out a challenge, but make sure you call out what you're doing to work on it. Okay. All right. Hopefully that was helpful. Someone asked, Hippie Q asked, should I fill out the optional demographic questions in applications? What are the pros and cons? So I actually shot this question over to my friend who is an HR professional. I'm not an HR professional, let's be clear. So I don't have a direct answer to this. My answer is going to be a theory, a summary, a theory and assumption, what I think I know. But what I'll do is I'll try to, in the comments, come back and respond whenever she messages me back. Okay. So, so the person is basically asking, do you fill out the EEO, the equal employer opportunity questions at the end when they ask, what's your ethnicity, what's your race, what's your nationality, what's your ethnicity, nationality, are you a veteran, what's your gender, and are you disabled? I think those are the questions that they ask. And so someone said, should you fill that out? Is there a pro and a con? I will tell you, I think we all feel a little bit nervous about filling that out, right? I think we all, we click those buttons and we're like, should I? Because are they going to be looking at this and thinking, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I don't know what my dog is barking about. I'm going to tell you from my understanding, this is my understanding, and I promise when she responds to my message, I will circle back and let you know if I'm right or wrong. I will put that in the comments, so feel free to come back and check this video. But from my understanding, that information is not captured with your identifying information. That information is captured anonymously. It's not supposed to be captured. Like the recruiters aren't supposed to get Libria Jones' email address, bio, resume, EEO information. That information is captured separately, and it's only captured from a standpoint of statistics, so they can see how many people are applying with these types of things, right? And I believe that it starts to show up after you get hired. But in your application process, my understanding is that information is not supposed to be captured with that, because it puts a huge liability on the company, on the hiring company, to say whether or not they are discriminated against people based on that EEO information. That information is supposed to be solely for statistics for them. My understanding is if they get that information, it actually puts them at risk of being accused of discrimination. So for that reason, I believe they're not even supposed to see that. So is there a pro or con? No, there's not supposed to be. There's not supposed to be. But again, I'm going to confirm that with my girl Deetra Giles, and I'll get back to you. I'm going to text her again while we're talking, and maybe she'll respond before my 30 minutes is up. Circling down to remote jobs for construction managers. My question is always, every time someone asks me, is there a remote job for fill in the blank? My question is always going to be, have you searched for any? Have you looked for any? Have you looked for remote jobs for construction managers? And also, have you considered some of the skills that you have as a construction manager and done a search for those things and say like remote job for blueprint readers or whatever? I'm going to do a quick search while we're sitting here for construction managers. And I see a few construction manager remote jobs already. Senior project manager, construction manager remote, Cooper's Hawk Winery and Restaurants. So a lot of times, construction project manager, hybrid remote, construction remote project manager, hotel construction at hotel rehabs. So I mean, I see some positions. A lot of times when people are asking me, are there remote jobs for fill in the blank for their position? My guess is that they haven't searched for them. So I encourage you guys. I am a wealth of information for sure. Absolutely. I have a lot of information to share, but I also encourage you guys to feel empowered to do a Google search. Really, you would be surprised at what you find. And then once you do that, go ahead and download the guide so that you can get more, what is the word I'm looking for? Focused results, right? So that you can go to the places where they're posting remote jobs. And then the Remote Ready bundle teaches you how to do very specific Google searches to get great results. But yeah, there's construction manager positions that are remote. Trini Photog 2012. My daughter is Trini as well. So hey girl, hey. I've worked in the same industry for 14 years and I'm looking to switch to remote work. How can I relate the skills I've developed in one field to help myself find remote work? I feel like so much of my knowledge and skill is irrelevant to remote work. So Brianna, it's tough for me to say that. It's tough for me to answer that because you haven't told me what you do, nor have you shared what your skills are. Here's what I will say. You are already deciding that your skills are not relevant. And I'm going to tell you that it's not true. I'm going to tell you that it's not true. It is not true that your skills are not relevant. It's not true that your skills aren't transferable. So for one, if you've been in the pet industry, I don't care what industry you're in, everybody's done customer service. Everybody has a customer. I don't care if you work for a tech company. I don't care if you work in operations, in accounting. Everyone has a customer. Everybody has a customer. If you work in a tech department at a company, the business is your customer, right? Because you're creating software tools or standing up software tools to enable the business to do work. They're your customer. If you work in accounting, if you work in payroll, the employees are your customer, right? Because they got to get paid. If you work in benefits, the employees are your customer. If you work in retail, your customer is very straightforward. People that walk in the door. Everyone has a customer. Everybody. And so everybody has customer service experience, right? We all have customer service experience. Most of us have administrative experience as well. No matter what your role is, there's some administrative work that you have to do within your role, right? So if you're in the pet industry, maybe you were a groomer, but you have to manage schedules, right? That's administrative work, right? So, and you have to manage updating documentation on the pets. You have to manage checking into their, what is the word I'm looking for? I'm looking at my dog like he's going to tell me, managing their shot records and things like that, right? So there's an administrative component to what you've done. So, I mean, I would challenge you to kind of list out the work that you've done outside of hands-on touching animals. I don't know what you did for a living, but outside of actual physical work, what have you done? And identify that as either administrative work, project management work, customer service work, label that stuff and start to identify, what patterns am I seeing here, right? Have I mostly been in administrative? Have I been in contracts? Have I been in customer service? Have I been in resourcing? Have I been in management? What have I been in, right? And then you can transfer over. The other thing I'd say is if you're moving from very physical work to remote work, great options are entry-level remote workplaces that are what that I call low experience positions. So administrative work, customer service work. I just did a blog post 2 weeks ago about entry-level remote work. And it's a great resource for people that are transitioning from very physical work to remote work. And I'm going to drop that in the description box. Hopefully that was helpful for you, Brianna. But I want you to telling yourself that your knowledge and skill is irrelevant to remote work. And I'd also say, if you feel like there are skills gaps to what you'd like to do, I think about what you'd like to do and go learn how to do it. We live in a time where it is so easy to go pick up new skills, right? The barrier to entry is very low to go and learn how to do new skills. We just hosted, my friend Jill Davidian just hosted a workshop last week teaching people how to do instructional design. And she's helping people get jobs doing instructional design, people that have never done this before, right? I mean, I know people that have made great money learning to do social media ads. And now they're ads guys, right? And they sell ads. They manage people's ads. People have gotten into social media. People have learned how to do Canva, and now they're graphic designers. So we just live in a time where you can learn anything. You can go to YouTube University. Most of these platforms have their own training. So Facebook has its own ads training. Google has its own ads training. Canva has its own design training where you can go and learn how to do this stuff. So that's another option for you as well if you're moving from physical work to wanting to move to remote work. It might have been asked before, but how to know if a company is a remote first company? That's a good question. I'd say that, and what she means by remote first companies is maybe 3 weeks ago, I did a whole week where I featured remote first companies, and things I love about remote first companies is that they are the types of companies that have been remote since the beginning. They didn't just turn remote during the pandemic. They didn't just decide to go remote. They're not trying to figure this thing out. They've been remote since the beginning, or they've been remote for a very long time. And the things that I love about them is that they embrace being able to work from anywhere. They have a structure built to manage and support your career remotely. They're not trying to figure out how to grow and develop you as a remote employee. And they tend to be more flexible, and they tend to pay well, and they just tend to be great companies to work for. How to tell if a company is remote first? I don't know how to answer that question, but I will tell you some of the characteristics that they have in common. One, they are very, very enthusiastic about being remote. So a lot of them, when you go to their About Us page, they talk a lot about how we are a distributed team. We're a global team. We're remote. We're a remote first company. They'll say that themselves. And the other thing I'd say, honestly, is, do you care if it's a remote first company, right? If you start to look at companies and they fit the description, then that's what you really care about, right? You don't have to say, check the box, this is a remote first company. What you should be doing is looking at companies and saying, does this company seem to embrace my values for what I want to be as a remote employee? Do they have a global workforce? Do they care if I work outside of the US? Do they have great time off packages, right? Do they have good benefits? Are they cognizant of the fact that, people are in different time zones? A lot of remote companies don't really require people to be meeting all day. They do a lot of asynchronous communication, which means that they create a video, they would send it to someone, and you can watch it when you want to, when you need to, when you work during your work hours, because people are in different time zones. So are they respectful of time zones? So I'd say focus a little bit less on the label and a lot more on the characteristics of the companies that you're looking to work for and whether or not they meet what you're looking for. But I do have a blog post with a list of remote first companies on my website, and I will drop that in the description. Okay. You guys asked a lot of great questions. Whew, man, it's been 24 minutes already. How y'all doing in the comments? Have I gotten to any of your questions yet? Someone said, I love this question, actually. I'm skipping over some questions to get to this one. Can you give examples of how you used your McDonald's work history to attain corporate positions for a recent college grad, double major in management and marketing? Listen, T. Lou asked me this question. I think I might have mentioned offhandedly um, a while back that that I worked at McDonald's and that I feel like a lot of our work experience is transferable. And I have mentioned in interviews that I worked at McDonald's. And so she's asking basically like how examples of how I use my McDonald's work history to obtain corporate positions. So how I would use my McDonald's work history in an interview today for a corporate position. To be honest with you guys, like McDonald's is an excellent training ground. Okay? Okay, so let's break it down. McDonald's is customer service, right? So while working at McDonald's, I learned the meaning of great customer service. Dealing with difficult people. McDonald's have some of the most demanding customers that are only paying $5, right? And as a customer service associate at McDonald's, my job is to make sure they leave happy, regardless of how difficult and demanding they are. So, one of the transferable skills that I got at McDonald's is dealing with difficult people, right? And problem resolution. Problem resolution, that's number three. The fourth skill that I got from McDonald's is working under pressure. If any of you have ever worked in fast food, you know what it's like when that damn bus pulls up full of cheerleaders and football players, and you're like, oh, I ain't never going home. Y'all know what that feels like, right? But being able to work under pressure and work efficiently under pressure, right? So there's so many skills that you can pull from that. It's not that I just went to McDonald's and flipped burgers and took orders. I did a whole lot more than that at McDonald's. I dealt with demanding customers, difficult people, problem resolution, working under pressure. There's a fly flying about in here. Working under pressure, having to work quickly, having to learn and understand and follow process, right? Listen, y'all can parlay. I'm telling you, every position that you have, you can pull out the things that you've learned and the things that you've done in those positions and apply them to pretty damn near any position. I'm telling you, if I didn't work at McDonald's so long ago, I would sit in any interview today and bring McDonald's up and bring up my experience at McDonald's and tell them how working at McDonald's would make me an excellent employee, has made me an excellent employee for them today. No joke. No joke. I learned so much working at McDonald's. So much working at McDonald's. Hopefully that answered the question. What are your recommendations for recent college grads applying for entry-level positions? A lot of positions still want 2 years of experience with entry-level jobs. So I'm going to say this. Don't stop at the job posting. Just because they said they want 2 years of experience doesn't mean they really want 2 years of experience. Let me say that closer into the microphone. Just because they said they want 2 years of experience doesn't mean they really want it. A lot of times I feel like companies fill out these forms for these job descriptions and they just be putting stuff up there. God, I mean, because come on, an entry level position can't have 2 years of experience because it's entry level. Like, what y'all doing? I don't know why. I really wish companies would stop doing this. But what I'm going to say to you guys is, what I always say: apply anyway. All right. The trouble with women is a lot of times we look at a job posting and we don't check all the boxes or 95% of the boxes, we won't apply. So what it says you need 2 years of experience, right? You got 4 years of education in this area. So go ahead and apply. My company, I think our job posting says that you need 1 to 2 years of experience for solution consultants and project managers. We just hire like 10 people straight out of college. They ain't got no experience. Stop playing. I wish companies would stop that, but it's almost like they feel like they have to say something, so they do. And I'm not saying that all of them are lying and it's not true. What I am saying is that you don't be the one to tell yourself no. Go ahead and apply for the position, right? Because there are some skills and some experience and some valuable things that you have that you can offer to them that are different than the 2 years, right? So maybe you don't meet that criteria, but maybe you meet all the other criteria, or maybe you meet some criteria that they didn't even know they had. Maybe you've got some skills and some experience and some education that they didn't even know they needed, right? So go ahead and apply anyway. So that's going to be my recommendation. My other recommendation is to network. My recommendation is always to network. I'll be honest with you. I think most of the jobs that I've had, I got because I was networking. The job I have now, I did not interview for. They found me because my LinkedIn profile was on point. We can talk about that another day. So what makes a company give someone without their required experience a chance? I can tell you why I've given someone without my required experience a chance. I'll give you a great example. We were hiring project managers, and I was hiring a project manager for my team, and came across a young lady who had never been in our industry, which is fine. Like, people like to say, we'd love for you to have experience. I work in master data management. We'd love for you to have experience in master data management, or at least with software implementations. And we run into people that don't have that, but this person has done project management before. Actually, this one woman we hired, she was a communications major. And I got so excited about the idea of ensuring that we had someone in that project management seat that truly understood how to communicate. Because that's probably the biggest part of project management, right? And so in my case, she didn't meet my required experience, and she didn't have everything on the list, but she had something that I hadn't even thought of, right? We love to say excellent communication skills, right? That's always in the job posting. But she literally majored in communication. And so here we were thinking, here's an opportunity for us to bring someone in who truly understands not just that communication is important, but how to communicate at different levels, right? What words mean what things, how to frame questions, how to frame messaging, all of that. Like, here's an opportunity for us to really bring somebody in that can communicate with her team and communicate with the clients and help us set expectations. And so, Lynn, to your question, what makes a company give someone a chance without their required experience is because you have other skills that are more interesting than the ones that I've listed as required. You meet some of those. She met some of the requirements. She didn't meet all of them, but this was very compelling. Hopefully that answered your question. That example answered your question. The jobs I'm applying for are not advertised as remote. So how do I know if they will consider this rather than not hearing back on my application? If it doesn't say it's remote, I'm going to assume it's not, is how I feel about it. Ty VO3, if the job is not advertised as remote, it is likely not remote. And companies that will consider someone remote, they typically say that. Now, if you want to chance it and apply for a job anyway and see if they love you enough that they'll consider you being remote, you are welcome to do that. But I'm going to tell you that typically if a job is remote, it will say that it is remote in the job posting. Do most remote interviews take place on Zoom or Skype? I have Skype, but I do not have Zoom. There's no way for me to know that. I don't know the answer to that. It depends on what companies are using. I think Zoom right now is the most popular platform from a standpoint of they have the biggest market share. So I can only assume that Zoom is used more often. And I believe Skype is really kind of going away because Microsoft has changed that to Teams. So I don't know the answer to that. I can make an assumption. Zoom is growing a lot faster than Skype is. So I assume it's Zoom. All right, let me answer one more question. How do you know which remote companies are real and those that are not? Because there's a lot of scams out there. That I wouldn't say a lot, but yes, there are scams. Scams do exist. I did a work from anywhere Wednesday on this topic. I did a blog post on this topic. I'm gonna hit it really quickly because I gotta go cook. But it's a great question. One of the things that I would tell you to do are a few. One, go check the company out on LinkedIn. Look the company up on LinkedIn and see who works there. And feel free to reach out to people that work there. I need a sip of wine, excuse me. Man, my throat's getting dry. Sorry about that, guys. Go to LinkedIn, look the company up, look at the people that work there, and feel free to reach out to the people that work there and just say, hey, I'm really interested in working at this company. Just wanted to know what you thought about working there. How do you enjoy working there? So that's thing one. Thing two, go to Glassdoor and search for the company on Glassdoor. Glassdoor is basically not Travelocity, TripAdvisor for a review site for companies. So people that work there, people that have worked there, people that have interviewed there will leave reviews about the company. They'll leave reviews about how management is. They'll leave reviews about what it's like to work there, what the pay is like. Sometimes people even leave reviews about what the interview process is like. So Glassdoor is just a really great resource to have in your job search. So go to Glassdoor, see what people are saying about them. That's two. The third thing is search for them on the Better Business Bureau, right? See if something has popped up that they're scamming. Because if they're scamming you, they're scamming their customers too. The fourth thing I'd say is go ahead and do a Google search. So search for them as if you were going to buy a product, if you were going to be a customer of theirs, and find out what kind of reviews they're getting on Google as well. To see if any customers or anybody else has been scammed by them. So those are some things that you can do. And then the last thing I say is just kind of trust your gut. If they're asking you to do strange things that, aren't necessary for a job search or interview process, like asking for your social security number before you even interview, asking for your bank account, telling you to mail you a check. If they're doing weird stuff, go with your gut. And we talked about this last time. I don't think any of us have ever regretted following our intuition. God gave us intuition for a reason, and women's intuition is something special. It's like it's magical, right? So, follow your intuition, but there's some practical things that you can do as well. Just do some searches on the company and find out if it's real or fake. All right. Okay. That is all I have time for today. Thank you guys for joining. I really appreciate it. It was so good to see you. See you guys today. Thank you. I hope I have fun at the potluck. I'm trying to get out and enjoy life in Tulsa. And this potluck is for a woman that I just met at one of the Tulsa Remoters events. We've not had the chance to hang out. I've just kind of run into her around town a couple of times. So this is an attempt to make new friends here in Tulsa. She just bought a house. I'm really excited. I actually ran into her at the grocery store last night. I didn't even know about the potluck until I ran into her at the grocery store last night and asked her how the house hunting was going. So I'm excited. I'm excited to go and hang out and, act like I live here. And I love to cook. So I'm excited to see how these butternut squash wonton turn out. I am rambling about things that have nothing to do with remote work. So I'm going to go, and thank you guys again for joining, and y'all have a great evening. Bye.